Kai Asakura, he's been making waves in the Asian MMA scene for years now. Like, if you're really in the know, you know this dude has been around. He's a former two-time bantamweight champion in Ryzen and a knockout machine at that. But really, that's not what makes him intriguing this weekend at UFC 310. It's really the fact that the man gets a crack at UFC Gold in his debut, and he's getting that crack against the reigning champion, Alexandre Pantoja. Listen, UFC is really pushing for Asakura to be that guy to dethrone Pantoja, and that's really what we're going to explore here today, folks. On top of that, of course, you got the two undefeated studs, man. Shavkat Rakhmonov, 18-0, Ian Machado Garry, 15-0. We need to find out who comes out on top. And again, we're going to jump straight to it. Folks, my name is Derick G. Welcoming me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native. AJ, it's the end of the year in the, MMA landscape, right? The last big pay-per-view of the year. That means we got bangers and we got storylines that we kind of got to tie up right here. What are you thinking, brother? What is this card shaping up to be?
Whew, we got bangers head to toe, Derek. There's names you could pull off this fight card right here that could have been, right, the main events for a lot of the other cards we saw throughout the year, brother. So this one is stacked from head to toe. I'm excited to break it down. Like you said, Kai Asakura is looking like a stud. We'll see if he can fill the shoes that the UFC wants him to do. Man, top to bottom, this one's exciting. I'm excited to break it down with you, brother.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro, because on one hand, it's like they're pushing him to be that guy, but you have to think about it, right? When you have an unknown commodity and you're selling a pay-per-view fight, you have to get people excited to put the butts in the seats. How do you do that? You make Asakura look like a monster. But Alexandre Pantoja, we just have to give respect to the champion, right? Didn't really get that much respect before he got the belt. Now that he has the belt, still not getting a ton of respect, and it seems like they're trying to push him to be the guy that's about to get, kind of steamrolled for the new, Japanese champion. We'll see what happens, but we got a lot of fun in store. But AJ, let's not forget, we had a week off, right? Or something, we had some type of weirdness, or it was the late card, I think that's what it was. But UFC Macau, we need to talk about the results, brother. Let's jump into it. All right, man, bet recap, here we go. UFC Macau, consensus picks. We only had 3 of them. 2-1, and the one that dropped, bro, that was the heaviest favorite on the card. That's the one that I thought was pure cash. Wang Kong, oh man, upset alert, brother. Just give me like a key point that you're taking from UFC Macau. Where do we go right? Where do we go wrong?
Whew, upset alert, Derek. This is for the entire Macau card, right? I feel like you can't rest on your laurels about how you think a lot of these things are going to go on because you have craziness. I believe Kong was like a minus 800 for a favorite or some crazy number. I forgot the total it actually went, but still, for that fact to actually go down like that, man, it was a very interesting card. And I mean, folks, you can see it. A lot of red over here on the pops and the parlays. We hate to see that going. We're accountable as always, man. This is a rough one for us.
And again, let's go back, and on a good note, consensus picks 2-1. So listen, we got you covered there. I will say, AJ, man, you were on it. It was not a consensus pick, but it was a heavy favorite. Oberg, bro, there's no more denying the man. I keep trying to deny him, and he keeps winning, and I keep being on the bad end of it. So folks, when it comes to Carlos Oberg, don't deny the man anymore. But that was your UFC Macau bet sheet right there. I moved to 129-77 on the year. AJ 123-83. So it's still up for grabs, but let's see what we got this week, because let's not forget, we got some belts that we fighting for, baby. If we win, you win, we all win. AJ, we're not talking about the past, we're talking about this week, here and now. UFC 310, and this is the docket right here. Consensus picks, UFC 310, Alexandre Pantoja, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Cyril Gane, and Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell right here. One contrasting pick, but as always, brother, give us our consensus pick theme this week.
Ooh, the theme this week, Derek, is consistency, right? If all of these fighters are able to stay consistent in how they get things done on a normal day-to-day basis, they're going to be pulling these wins out.
Every one of these fighters coming off of a win except Bryce Mitchell coming off the first knockout loss of his career. And guess what? You get to fight a jiu-jitsu guy, so it's all good. Not quite as scary as some of these other guys. Gracie, by the way. All right, folks, but let's go ahead and let's jump into these props. AJ, kick us off first. You got a intriguing prop that I would like you to talk about.
Woo, the young gun, man. Chase Hooper versus Clay Guida, man. An old dog in this fight, right? Guida is very hard to put away. An absolute cardio machine. As dangerous as Hooper has become, I really don't see him being able to finish the fight. So I like Clay, or I like the over 1.5 rounds for minus 145 money. Yeah, it's minus money, but it still is a good payout for what you're getting in this fight.
I mean, that's a great value. Let's not forget, right? We've seen these two competitors fight before in a jiu-jitsu match where Hooper got the calf slicer finish. But guess what? It's a little bit different when they get to punch him in the face, right? Jiu-jitsu, MMA, two different sports. Solid value right there. I like Dom Reyes versus Anthony Lionheart Smith over 1.5 rounds at -155. Folks, I look at it like this. Smith, if he's anything, he's durable, right? Yeah, you get knocked a little bit by the Khalil Roundtrees and such, but we like it so much right here. It's just such a heavy prop lock. We even find it in one of our parlays. So before we jump into that parlay, AJ, let's talk about the other one. Cody Durden, Alexandre Pantoja money line. Folks, this is a plus money, dog money cash right here. Pantoja is our anchor. Cody Durden versus Josh Van. You're going to notice in these parlays, there's a little contrast of thinking. So that's one right there. AJ, talk about the other parlay that we got.
Reyes Smith over 1.5, like Derek said, it's a lock, right? But if you're looking to make some extra money on this one, you throw Josh Van as the money line at +168. Fast fighter who needs to be stopped to actually lose the fight. I don't see Durden doing enough to actually get it done in the situation to put Van in trouble. I like this one a lot, Derek. Both minus money favorites going into this. You combo them together, +168 comeback for you.
And this is what I will say, right? This is going to be the one time that I'm going to encourage folks that are listening, choose one or the other. Don't choose both. We're not hedging. We're not canceling out our bets right here because you got Durden on one side and you got Van on the other side. So if you want to rock with the prop lock plus the Van money line, I wouldn't be mad at you, but I wouldn't be mad banking on Pantoja and Durden either. So you got a lot of options there. But with that being said, we only got one contrasting pick. Duho Choi, Nate the Train Landwehr, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But you know what time it is, folks. Let's jump into the main card. Let's break it down.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Folks, we're here to break down the main card. I'm ready for it. Again, I give you guys the news flash. If you're new to the program, what we're going to do is pretty simple. We're starting with the most important event of the night, the championship flyweight bout, breaking it all the way down to the opening bout of the night. Then we got bonus plays, sleepers, news and notes, a lot of fun stuff to cover. Folks, I have one ask for you. My ask is that if you are watching this program right now and you're not currently subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And in return, what we're going to do is we're going to provide you value week in and week out. We grind film study every week, look for plays that could bring you value. And we're both hovering at 60% or above. So that goes to show we put our money where our mouth is. AJ, let's not miss no more words, brother. Championship fights are on deck. And the first one that we need to bring up, Alexandre Pantoja, Kai Asakura. Listen, I said it in the intro. UFC is trying to push this guy Asakura, who is a 2-time bantamweight champion, literally just left Ryzen, just like said, all right, I'm cool off of this belt at bantamweight. I'm going to come down to flyweight in the UFC, and I'm going to take over the division. Now, AJ, is it a little weird to you that a bantamweight moving down to flyweight gets this shot, given that he's a Ryzen champion right there? Like, does that speak anything to you, or are you like, normal, makes sense?
No, it's definitely eyebrow raising, Derek, and a lot of my thought going into that why he's dropping down again. Ryzen has the hydration limit, right? They make the cuts a little bit harder, or at least it's harder to actually attain over in Ryzen. So now he's able to cut down to what he wants to be able to fight at right here. Going to flyweight. It is interesting to see his very first fight, the debut. You're getting locked up, going right to the gold, man. So I'm interested to see how he actually performs when the big spotlights are on him. We see him do it in Japan. We see him do it over on the East. But can he actually step up now that all the heavy lights are on him?
It's interesting to me because competing, right, at 125 pounds, of course, after you rehydrate, it might feel much more closer to what he normally competes at. But I just thought it was interesting because I looked at when you competed at 125 pounds, Kai Asakura, right, 3-1 in that tenure at 125 pounds, 3 knockout wins, 1 knockout loss. So clearly the man was crushing it, like no problem. But when you look at his 21-4 record, when you look at 13 knockouts, 3 submissions and all of that, like, a lot of that is done at 135 pounds. But AJ, this is the key right here. I can't pull it up. I guess I can, but I'm not going to. Kai Asakura, one of the biggest names that he fought, 2 of them, right? Manel Kape and Kyoji Horiguchi, right? So you got like Bellator stuff, you got UFC stuff right here, of course, Starboy and all that. But Manel Kape, man, we've seen how he's fared in the flyweight division, and we've seen how large he is in the flyweight division. I mean, that was your bantamweight that you were fighting. So I think that Kai Asakura is sitting at 5'8", being bigger than Pantoja. I don't know if size and frame is going to be that much of a factor in this one. From a pure strength perspective, it's kind of hard to deny Pantoja. If he walks forward, eats your shots, and gets you in a body lock, rinse, wash, repeat is all the other matchups that we've had in the last 3, 4, 5. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Derek. The one thing I like going for Asakura in this one, he has really good sprawls and knows how to use his body to be able to use the momentum to switch things up for it. Now, that being said, it's going to be very, very hard to do against a fighter like Pantoja, who has all the same abilities, if not more polished abilities in that field. The question is when they get body to body up against that cage, who's the one that has the skill to be able to get to those positions?
Before we jump into the actual numbers, man, I think it really breaks down like this because I agree with you. I think it's a matter of we know Pantoja never been knocked out before, right? I think he's only registered one knockdown in his entire UFC career, and that was against Davison Figueiredo, who we know, dude, has, he has real pop in those shots. But if Kai Asakura could land the big shot and knock him out, that's what everyone's banking on. But hasn't that been what everyone's been banking on for Steve Erceg, Brandon Royval, Moreno, Perez, like all the guys, right? But if Pantoja can walk through it, I don't see how this fares much different than everything else, and I can see a submission at play. So let's talk about those numbers right here, man. Kai Asakura, worst case scenario, you get taken down early, or you get your back taken early, which we know is the Pantoja special. How much do you like that plus 165 submission on the Pantoja side?
Ooh, a lot, Derek. A lot, especially because when Kai Asakura is in the pocket, right, when things are getting crazy, he's wild, right? He's throwing some crazy shit at everybody. And if Pantoja is able to cut a corner, get to his back early when they're still dry, we've seen how fast of a finisher Pantoja can be.
And that's why I like it from this side. I'm not even trying to be too heavy on the Pantoja side, but I know that Kai Asakura likes to open up. He has solid boxing in the pocket, like you said, right? But if Pantoja is going to walk through the pocket in order to grab a hold of you, if he eats the shots, because he's a durable guy, like I said, it just comes down to the willingness of Asakura to sit there and trade as opposed to just be pure sprawl and brawl. But we have seen he has good takedown defense. I just think Pantoja is a different monster right here. At the end of the day, man, UFC, as the machine does, you have to hype up this contender. But tell me, realistically, man, Kai Asakura, do you see him being more of a threat to Pantoja than Steve Erceg or Brandon Royval was in those fights?
Not more, Derek. Not more. I'd say very, very close. And this is all being because I had massive expectations for Steve Erceg. But when you see him go into that fight against Pantoja, he did not perform the way we've seen him normally perform. And that's where I think this is same thing going to happen to Kai Asakura going into this one. A lot of people are expecting that heavy power, right? Walk him down or at least find the counter shots when those wild mans are coming at him. And with the blitz that Pantoja presents, he leaves counters open. So he can get touched up. But how durable or how powerful can Asakura be with the durability of Pantoja?
Yeah, that's the big question mark that nobody can answer until we get into the cage. But if we're looking at something right now, we can look at what the open was for Alexandre Pantoja. The open was minus 235, crept up to minus 250 now at this point. Plus 205 comeback for Kai Asakura currently. It was plus 185 at open, man. So I think that things are trending the right way and things are leaning the right way. Listen, man, no disrespect, but it's hard for me to look at Kai Asakura as this big, scary guy when I haven't seen him prove it in the biggest promotion with the toughest competition. You fought some killers out there in Ryzen. It's just a little bit of a different story. So I'm here to make some money. And AJ, I know you are too. So coming back to the money conversation right here, man, if we're looking for a Kai Asakura victory, it's hard. It's really, really hard to bank on decision Asakura, like plus 650. I don't know if I like that. TKO is realistically the one that I would go if I was an Asakura better. But I think that the best play that you could possibly take here is either going to be a Pantoja decision or a Pantoja sub, man. I don't really see it playing out any other way. And I hate to be too on that side, but that's the conviction that I have for this pick. What do you think?
No, I'm with you, Derek. And in fact, unfortunately, I'm leaning more towards that plus 350 decision. And I don't say unfortunately because that's going to be a boring fight. I do think it's going to be very entertaining. I just think that's the most likely outcome for a Pantoja who needs to not necessarily be a bully, who needs to not rush into things. Because Kai Asakura has some pop on his shots, man. And that's why he has the best odds at for the TKO at plus 275. If Pantoja can avoid that in his blitz, I think it's going to be a very long night for Asakura.
Let's not forget, Pantoja coming off 3 straight decision victories, and Asakura has never been submitted in his entire MMA career. So it'll be interesting. I mean, man, I don't know. Pantoja, 10 subs, 10 decisions, 8 knockouts. You can get it done any one of these ways, but there's true value right there. So my final question before we get up out of here is for Pantoja, do you like a money line? Would you ride money line, or is he a parlay exclusive?
I think he's a parlay exclusive, Derek. It's minus 250 right now. Don't get me wrong. That's a very valuable price for what we've seen Pantoja do as of late, especially Derek with the people you're listing off, right? The Royvals, the Figueiredos, the Morenos, like all these studs that he's fighting going up against a debut fighter. I don't know what the male version of a debutante is, but either way, nonetheless, to see that, right, you should be expecting like a minus 500, minus 300, something in that range. But Kai Asakura does have the talent to be able to stand there.
All I'm going to say is, excluding Kayla Harrison, I cannot remember when you can have some just person coming from another organization who has this great of odds. Like the Open at plus 185. Like, you're right. I think it should have been much steeper for somebody who's been kind of reigning the division. Alexandre Pantoja, man. The dude hasn't lost in quite some time. We'll see what happens from there. But that is your pick. It's consensus. Alexandre Pantoja and then AJ, just to kind of finalize. We know it's a consensus pick, but what is the official play right here? Submission, decision?
I'm rocking decision.
Decision. All right, fair. I'm going to go submission. Plus 165, Pantoja. Get him out of there. You know the man doesn't like to work overtime, bro. Let's go. All right, co-main event, which some would say is your main event. This is the battle between two undefeated fighters, and realistically, Shavkat Rakhmonov got the short end of the stick on this one. The man was slated to fight Bilal Muhammad. Muhammad, his foot blew up. We saw the bone infection. He had to pull out. So that instead of saying, we'll shelf you get to fight him, the champ, when he's healthy, they said, nah, go fight that other undefeated guy, the guy that you have history with. AJ, which is what we need to bring up first. So let me go ahead and let me bring up the big screen. Shavkat Rakhmonov, I made Ian Garry tap out in sparring. So these guys got a little bit of history. Let me go ahead. We're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down a little bit and we're just going to get straight to the goodness right here. This is all you need to know. Let me pull some of that. You got some sparring footage. You're seeing it live in the flesh right here. These guys are getting after it and whatever. I mean, sparring is sparring. Training and fighting are two different things. But the point is, when you felt somebody, when you kind of felt how they move, it gives you a little bit of a different sense of confidence. And part of this article, more or less, that I was showing is ultimately Shavkat saying like, hey, y'all showed some of that, right? You didn't show the part when I made him tap, though. Ian Machado Garry confirmed Shavkat Rakhmonov tapped him in sparring, but not relevant for UFC 310. We'll come back to all of this at a later point, but my question to you is straight off the bat right there, man. When you know you have been submitted by somebody, I can speak from just like a jiu-jitsu perspective, right? When I know somebody has gotten my number, I could talk as big as I want, but you know in the back of your mind, you're like, yo, I've been got and I can get got again. He feels like he's an evolved fighter, and I believe that, but Rakhmonov most likely is as well. How do you see this battle shaking out? Because I think a lot of people are really underestimating Ian Garry, and I think he has a real shot to make some noise and make this a much more competitive fight than people think. What do you think?
Absolutely, man. The chips are not down for Ian Garry, right? He has a lot stacked against him, but he also has a lot in his pockets right here. Yeah, you're sure. You got submitted that one time. Maybe it was a couple times. Who knows? But that is completely different than the night of the fight, right? If you're stepping in, anybody can be beat. Anybody can be that guy that night. It's just how you actually show up to the fight. And with that little bit of extra salt, that little bit of shit talk they got going on, I can see the bravado, right, of Ian Machado Garry going forward and actually wanting to put on a stellar performance. He has the opportunity to make absolute waves right now.
Bro, look at him. He's bigger, right? Not really longer. Shavkat Rakhmonov is a ridiculous reach right here, but I can see this, right? Taking a look at these numbers and seeing the fighting style of Ian Garry, and also looking back at the fight with Michael Page, what this tells me is that Ian Garry has absolutely no problem playing the game, right? Even though he's the undefeated star who's trying to be like notorious and all that, he's like, if I have to lay on you to win the fight, I'll lay on you. If I have to pick you apart and just outpoint you, not get into the car crashes that Shavkat Rakhmonov often is getting himself into, if that's what he needs to do to win, I'm very confident that that's what he'll do. So again, taking a look at the open, plus 215 open for Ian Garry, and coming back right there with, minus 290 for Rakhmonov, man. All I'm saying is the number has jumped. Minus 390 for Rakhmonov currently, plus 290 for Ian Garry. So taking a look at that, does it give you a sense of value from the Ian Garry side, especially when you're looking at what that decision prop is looking like, plus 650? They're giving the man no shot. They're saying his best path to victory is a knockout, which I'm a little confused by. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that too, Derek. This gives me, if you're an Ian Garry bettor on this one, you're just drooling at the mouth for money right here, man. This is crazy to see. Like, these are the kind of odds I was expecting for the fight we just talked about, but to go in with this one, right? Like, Ian Garry is an absolute stud and he can get it going. So a lot of people are underestimating him right here. And the speed and the I want to say the like attack style that Ian Garry has, right? When he's on the front foot and he's controlling things, like Derick said, playing the game, he's able to control how the things actually unfold. And if Shavkat isn't able to put the pressure against Ian Garry, get him to the cage and take him down, whatever he needs to do, it's going to be a very interesting way to see how this chess game unfolds.
Well, a lot of people will point out, like, look at Ian Garry versus Song Kanan, which we never said that was the most impressive victory. He even got dropped in that fight, right? But he showed like the not, I don't want to say the peak because he's still young, right? But like a very high level Ian Garry. Pure, crisp boxing. I mean, the man is tenured. This dude has been fighting forever in like boxing matches and just combat sports, right? Now, Shavkat Rakhmonov, very good at cutting angles, but we know that the game plan, even though it seems like a guy who's going to walk you down and touch you up, grab you, submit you. Let's look at the numbers right now, man. The numbers are showing me that Shavkat Rakhmonov, 8 knockout wins, 10 submission victories, 18-0 right there. Every fight has finished in inside the distance. Ian Garry, 7 knockouts, 7 decisions, 1 submission. A little bit more well-rounded, but of course, either knocking you out or submitting you right here. So I guess big question right here is let's jump back up to this big screen and let's take a look at what this over is looking like. So over on this fight, currently tracking at 3.5, minus 110 for the over, under minus 125. What do you like there?
Ooh, minus 110 for the over, Derick. That's what I'm thinking right here, especially because it's 1.5, right? My screen's
So
a little blurry.
3.5.
Oh, 3.5. Ooh, for the over, man. I say it's crazy because the data has been trending that overs hit more often than not. But with these two fighters, right, zeros on the line, sometimes that under does look a little bit better right here.
Old gloves. Let's not forget. They saying there's some magic juju in the old gloves that's delivering knockout. So all I'm saying is we'll see what happens. But I think that's an interesting play right there. Here's the thing. It's hard to say decision for either of these fighters because Rakhmonov, a finished streak, 18-0. Like, I don't know. Ian Garry, though, doesn't appear to me to be a guy who's just roll over and quit. You know what I mean? Who will just say, like, I'm going to put myself in a compromising spot and quit. But when you've been tapped before, you can get tapped again. I don't know. I look at it from a pure skill perspective, and I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is the rightful favorite in this fight. I think Ian Garry, though, can make this a much more competitive fight. So, again, this is one of those where you take that, like, Ian Garry plus 3.5 points type point spread, MMA degenerate betting type. But for the purpose of this program, I think it's pretty clear, man. I don't take Shavkat Rakhmonov at minus 390. It's just too steep from a money line perspective. Do you take plus 195 submission, though?
Never lost a fight. Never been submitted. Plus 190. Man, Derick. Yeah, I think that's his best shot. I don't think he's going to be able to starch Ian Garry in this one. You've been submitted before. I think that's the best options for Rakhmonov going into this fight.
So you remember in the Macau card, right? We said Wang Kong is the unbettable fighter given her price tag, right? But we were seeing like there's a couple of victories. Do you feel that way right here versus Rakhmonov or no?
For Ian Garry, he's the unbettable, or Shavkat's the unbettable fighter?
Yeah, Rakhmonov being unbettable.
That's at 390, absolutely, Derick. Yeah, this is just too high. Price is too high to pay for the stud he's fighting across the cage.
So the consensus is Shavkat Rakhmonov from just a pick perspective, from a money laying, wagering, taking out your wallet and putting it down on the table. I think it's going to be more of a just enjoy the show. You know what I mean? If you might parlay Shavkat Rakhmonov. You know what I mean? But like a pure dog, you got to drop 390 to get $100. Come on, you know what I mean? All right. With that being said, clear victor, Shavkat Rakhmonov in the Eyes of the Bloody Water podcast, and I will say, I'm going to say something crazy, man. I'm going to give Ian Garry some respect. Decision, plus 275. 19-0, one decision for Shavkat Rakhmonov. All right, fair play. Moving on up. AJ, this is a really exciting fight to some, not to me. And the reason being, man, if you watch the first fight, Cyril Gane, 50-45 times 2, 49-46 times 1 against Alexander Volkov. Listen, Drago's the man. 5-1 since that loss, 3 finishes in that span. He's looked good. Cyril Gane, he has 2 losses in his professional career, his young career. John Jones, Francis Ngannou. You can't be mad at that. But what you can't be mad at is saying that Cyril Gane had many opportunities to fight like Tom Aspinall before Tom Aspinall got the belt, the interim belt that should soon be converted to a unified belt, right? That he's had plenty of opportunity, kind of turned down those opportunities, and now you find yourself in no man's land fighting Alexander Volkov, but you're the number 2 guy. I guess he's the number 3, so it kind of makes sense. But should this fight be happening, and are you excited to watch it, is my first question.
Should this fight be happening? I guess. Like, we've already seen it once. There's nothing else really shaking up in the division, so I can see where a spot needs to be filled, and that's why I like this fight. But as far as am I excited to watch this fight, not necessarily, right? If Volkov is able to get some back, right? If Volkov is able to show that he has now really hit that resurgence of his career after losing the last fight that these guys fought, then I'm going to be excited, right? Then I'm going to be very hyped to see Drago come in here and do some damage, because he, as much as he did lose that fight, it wasn't an ass whooping, right? It was a point battle that Gane was controlling. And now we've seen a different Volkov come to this one. And that's where I'm going to be excited if we see that new style of Drago come out here and really put his knuckles to work.
You know, I've been thinking about this one really for the last 2 weeks, and I've come to the consensus of this, my own personal consensus. So I guess this is just, my thoughts, right? I think that Volkov has one real path to victory right here, or we're going to see a complete repeat of the last fight. He needs to push the pace, walk forward, be able to eat a couple of shots of Ciryl Gane, trap him against the cage, and unload on him there. Because if you let Ciryl Gane be at kicking range, he's going to pick you apart for 15 minutes in this case, because it's not a main event, right? I think it's going to be pretty straightforward and clear cut, man. I just think the speed advantage for Gane is far too superior for what Volkov can counter. Now, does Volkov have a puncher's chance to knock Ciryl Gane out? These are heavyweights. 100% he does. But if I'm betting, it makes sense to me why Ciryl Gane opened as minus 240, and AJ, let's see what he's sitting at right now. Again, minus 390, plus 290 comeback for Alexander Volkov, bro. So it's like, Ciryl Gane, another unbettable fighter here, because even though I'm very, very confident, like my confidence rating, if you will, my confidence interval here for Ciryl Gane to win is incredibly high. But aside from a Ciryl Gane decision, which you still can't get any value in because it's like minus 115 for a decision, I don't know where to go here. So that's my argument for why Alexander Volkov could make this closer than the line appears, but I still don't think he particularly wins. Do you see it any other way?
No, I'm basically right in line with you, Derek. If Volkov isn't able to put the pressure on and able to make Gane uncomfortable in those first rounds, we're probably going to see a repeat of it. But if Volkov is able to actually get him up against the cage, right, have him have moments of, oh shit, is he going to take down? Like, is he just going to beat me up against the cage? Like, trap him in there somewhere? Then we can see that. The problem is we need to see Volkov do that against somebody that already has his number going forward, right? If we see another point battle, if we see Volkov just trying to use his kicks to stay at range, I'm not as excited for this fight, and it leans towards Gane. But I do think, especially at the plus 290 or whatever it was we were saying before, there's some juice to be had for the Volkov bettors, right? For the Volkov favorites, or for the dedicated Volkov fans going forward, there's some juice to be had, because I was looking, right, when breaking this fight down, I thought Volkov has a lot better of a shot to win this 3-round fight, right? When he's not having to save his energy for the 4th and the 5th, right? When he's able to put that pressure on going forward, I can see a path to victory for Volkov. It's just, is he able to do it against the speed of Gane? That's the hard part.
And that's the $1 million question. I mean, I'm just looking at strength of schedule too. Since his loss against Tom Aspinall, we're talking about Alexander Volkov, you knocked out Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Alexander Romanov, which that one has fizzled out so hard, so it doesn't nearly count as much as it did once upon a time. Submitted Tai Tuivasa. Again, I mean, Ciryl Gane knocked him out, so, I mean, that's kind of a wash. And you decisioned Sergey Pavlovich, right, which is like, yo, okay, all right, that's a big one right there. I like your momentum, Volkov. Ciryl Gane, you beat Derek Lewis, knocked out Derek Lewis, decision to Ngannou, knocked out Tuivasa, submitted by John Jones, knocked out Spivak. That, to me, is much more impressive if you look at what Spivak has to present. Spivak is the dude, if he gets his hands on you, he takes you down, it's a wrap. So if we're thinking Volkov might mix into some takedowns, it's like, good luck, dude. The actual grapplers were trying and they couldn't do it. Let's see what you got. But then again, Volkov does have striking to then kind of parlay into a transition for grappling. I just don't see it happening. I see a rinse, wash, repeat. Ciryl Gane, unanimous decision victory right here, if not a TKO. Would you put any juice on a plus 500 TKO? I think Volkov's a little bit too durable, honestly, to get TKO'd by Ciryl Gane unless he gets really caught. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Unless he gets caught like that Derek Lewis fight where it's last second, Volkov's just leading the dance the entire time. Out of nowhere, that death touch comes. I don't see Gane being able to present that. I think he's going to run away with this one.
Crazy. All right. Ciryl Gane, consensus pick. That's dub on the board. Again, not really sure why the fight's happening, but I love to see a good fight. All right. Next up, listen, AJ, how this crept on the pay-per-view, I don't know, but we're here to talk about it. The biggest favorite, not the biggest favorite, the second biggest favorite on the card, Bryce Mitchell. He's fighting Gracie, minus 500 at open, plus 380. comeback for Kron Gracie. And if we take a look at not this matchup, but the one underneath, minus 900 for Thug Nasty, plus 525 for Kron Gracie. All right, man, let's be real, right? I think the number is inflated on behalf of Bryce Mitchell because Kron Gracie's last performance was a just pure old school jiu-jitsu performance. It was pulling guard a million times and nothing coming from it. But you can't particularly be mad at it because the man has a lot of stuff in the background that's kind of banking on how he performs, right? I think he's learned his lesson, but you also saw a kind of a troubling quote. And it's not troubling, it's just kind of the personality of Kron Gracie. But they're like, hey, man, like, you know, this is your fight or whatever. He's like, I don't care when I fight, the earlier the better, so I could be done and move on to better things in my life. And it's like, yo, that's not sounding like a guy that I want to bet on, you know? But like, hey, it is what it is. Bryce Mitchell, I feel like is a little bit of a wild card at this point now because we have seen that, I don't know, man, in a pure striking match, does he outstrike Kron Gracie? Like, I'm really not sure at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Derek. And one of the notes I have, like Bryce Mitchell, as good as he is on the ground, he's arguably outmatched. So, like, do we need to see a polished striking, right, ones and twos coming down the pipe, good head movement out of Bryce Mitchell? I don't see that happening either, man. He is unorthodox in his striking, right? He's a little different in how he gets it going, and he leaves holes open, like we saw in the Emmett fight. He leaves holes open in his defense. But does Kron Gracie have improved striking enough? Does he need to have improved striking to be able to outmatch Bryce Mitchell in this one? I don't know. We just haven't seen it. So it's kind of an anomaly as to how a jiu-jitsu match basically got put on the main card right here.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. I think if you're Bryce Mitchell, especially, okay, you got knocked out first time in your career and you got put down. Like you saw the other side for a while and then you came back, right? Like, all right, cool, we're back. And you fight a jiu-jitsu guy, but like arguably you might have to strike this fight to win this matchup. But at the same time, it's like Bryce Mitchell, I would describe his offense, striking, as like a downgraded version of Ryan Hall. A lot of like spinning Taekwondo-esque type attacks and all that, but not like just pure boxing out the gate, you know what I mean? I think Kron Gracie, man, he might be Kron Gracie by submission, plus 750. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely possible. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me, Derek, because I was expecting kind of an evener split for the submission on both these guys because they're so talented in that sport. And to have Kron Gracie have a worse odd or like more potential to make money on a submission odd, kind of interesting.
This is really my big question, man. In your mind, describe it super quick, man. What is a decision, a minus 200 decision by Bryce Mitchell? What does that look like?
A lot of stalls, a lot of just hanging on to positions and not really doing anything else, finding ways to be able to get to the next position and sitting on each other, really just playing the game of laying and praying, nothing too devastating or dominating going into that performance.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the analysis. I'm mad at the placement of this bout because it's confusing. But from a money-making perspective, again, Bryce Mitchell, not a bettable fighter in my mind. I'm not laying minus 900. We're not betting that. That's very clear. You're going to get lucky if you want to go ahead and you want to bet on a prop. So the only other thing that we can do is take a look at the fight odds right here and let's see what the overs are looking like. All right, fair. 2.5 rounds. Over, we're looking at minus... 275, plus 200 comeback. So under is plus 200, over minus 275, minus 200 for the decision on Bryce Mitchell's side. It makes sense that would be the play, is the over right there. Are you taking it?
I'm taking the over for sure on this one. I do think we're going to see a lot of sprawls, a lot of just kind of kinetic in the middle. So I think this one definitely over.
All right, fair. I don't really have anything else to say about this matchup other than Bryce Mitchell, you better not let us down, bro. We'll see. All right, should be a good one, folks. Let me go back to this big screen and let's move on to the opening bout of the night. By the way, this is consensus pick, Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell, baby. Let's get it. All right. Now, they gave us fireworks to open it up, man. They said, we're going to get y'all excited before we throw the rest of these fights at you. The Train, Nate Landwehr, fights Do Hoi Choi. And I messed up. I put an extra I in his name, so apologies. But that is the Korean Wonder Kid or Superboy or whatever the name is. Listen, homeboy came back as a revamped fighter, AJ. This dude has actually shown legitimate evolution in his game in a way that was surprising because let me just pull up the numbers right here. I mean, he's not super old by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a 33 years old. You know, once you hit 30 or so, you don't really see too much evolution in these fighters. But you got the 36-year-old Nate the Train who says, hey, listen, if I don't lose, there's a pretty good chance that I win. And you got to respect that, man. So, AJ, I'm going to say something controversial, and just hear me out. I love Nate the Train. But when I was assessing film on these fighters, and I watched Choi, I was like, he just looks like a supremely better fighter. Like in every aspect, skill-wise. Like I'm talking technical capacities. He just looked better everywhere. Grappling, striking, in between the mix, all the transitions. But then you have the comeback from Nate Landwehr, which says, if you do not kill me, I will be in your face for 15 minutes. So I don't care how technically good you are, you're going to get tired. Jamal Emmers, who put on a clinic on Nate Landwehr in the first round of their fight, you couldn't keep it up and you couldn't get him out of there. And because of that, he got put down himself. So with that assessment, do you agree that Choi technically is the better fighter, skill for skill, or do you think none of that matters in the octagon? It's about grit and determination.
No, I agree with you, Derek. That's exactly the thought process I had, right? This is one of those fights I put a little asterisk on because I think it can go either way. I think it's very, very close, and so do the odds makers. You can see it right there. But no, Choi is the more technical fighter. I would say he is more polished. He has had a career that we've seen him grow and be able to do better. I just don't think he's able to put out Nate Landwehr. And if you don't put Landwehr to sleep, he's going to come in and kill you, right? That's what we've seen, right? You have to put an absolute domination on Nate Landwehr to be able to get him out of there. And we've seen it time and time again, besides a flying knee from, who was it, Air Jordan? Or, no, I forget the one where he actually, unless you starch Nate Landwehr, he's going to be there till the end of the bell, and you got to be able to do that to him. I just don't see Choi having that explosiveness, right? He's very technical. He's able to get things done. He's very smooth in there, and he's also arguably the physically stronger fighter, more well-rounded. Yeah. But I just don't think he has that clip, that pop, and able to be actually to put Nate Landwehr to sleep.
Yeah, and it was Julian Arosa. That's what you were talking about. I remember because I bet on Nate Landwehr and saw him got knocked out immediately. I was like, oh my God. But look at the run that he's been on since that. He submitted Ludovic Klein. Let's not forget how well that aged, right? Beat David Onama, huge. Submitted Austin Lingo. Yeah, he got decision against 50K Ige, and then he knocked out Emmers. Like, Nate Landwehr is on a hell of a run. And it's weird because if you look at his UFC tenure, right? He's 5-3 in the UFC. Not super impressive. But like those wins are quality wins. So it makes sense for the the odds makers to say, oh yeah, hold on, let me go back to it. There we go. Nate Landwehr, right now, live odd, minus 135, favorite, plus 115 comeback for Choi. Like it makes sense to me to see that, especially when you look at Choi's last fight, and who was that against? It was Bill Algeo, right? But he put it on Bill, and he got him out of there. The fight before that, Kyle Nelson. And then before that, it was that 3-fight losing streak because, of course, the man had a big gap in his performance, right? So, again, I think that the difference in this matchup is that I don't think Choi sits there and just says, I'm going to slug it out with you. Just like in the Bill Algeo fight, I think he tries to mix it up at all levels. Take you down, get back up, land some big strikes, get into the clinch, do all the skillful things to be able to, in my opinion, plus 400 decision against Nate the Train Landwehr. I don't think he gets him out of there. I respect Nate the Train too much. I think he got to get hit with a real shot. But let's also not forget that right hand of Choi is an absolute piston. And if he lands that thing, it's going to be a problem. So I like the long play right here. I'm going to go to the over here in just a second. Give me any other argument that you have here for this matchup and for Nate the Train.
I'm glad you brought up the Algeo fight for Choi right there, Derek, because, yeah, he did. That was very polished, very good style. But if he's able to have that same style of fight against Nate Landwehr, I see Doo Ho Choi getting tired, right? You get tired, you get a little sloppy. And when Choi gets sloppy, man, he starts throwing some wild things out of nowhere. And Nate Landwehr has the abilities to see that and really put just a dog walking going forward. And that's where I see Nate Landwehr shining, right? When the pressure starts happening, you're getting tired. This guy's not backing down at all. That's a hell of a mental hurdle for Doo Ho Choi to get going. And with the losses we've had in the past, I mean, like we said, he did come back. He has a couple good fights since. But with that in the past, there's always that thought process of, damn, like this guy can get things done in there. I like Nate the Train for just the pure domination he's going to be able to put on, for the physical style, for the just the raw nature that Nate Landwehr likes to fight. I see him going into this one. And actually, Derek, I like that plus 350 TKO coming out of him. I see the decision at plus 195. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially if Doo Ho Choi gets tired, I can see Nate running away with this one, but I like that plus 350 TKO.
So clearly we are at odds in this matchup, but there's one thing, AJ, that there's still hope. There's still hope that you could be on board with me on this one. Over 2.5. plus 115, minus 145 for the under. I'm feeling good about that over at plus money, man. I'm telling you, you got two knockout fighters, two durable dudes. Choi isn't a guy that's just going to be like, hey, you think I'm just going to let you knock me out? Like, come on, Daniel Cormier? Like, no, of course not. The man has been knocked out 2 times in his entire career. And guess what? Nate Landwehr been knocked out 2 times in his entire career. Both of them got a lot of knockouts. Choi has more than Landwehr, by the way. So listen, I'm going to put on for my boy right here. I'm just kidding. These guys both respect, all love to them. But what do we think about that play? Over or under?
I like the over with you, Derek. I mean, as much as I'm going for the knockout, I could see a late knockout happening right here. But that over 2.5, like I said before, the data's tracking where overs hit more often than not. And especially at plus money, plus 125, like I like that all day long.
Plus 115, but yes, absolutely, brother. All good. So, folks, we're at odds, but there is a consensus pick, and it's going to be over 2.5 rounds, plus 115 for this fight. So we gave you everything. You got consensus picks, you got 4 of them, and you got a consensus prop. You got to love it. That's the main card plays, folks. But we're not done. We got a couple bonus plays for you. Hey, listen. I told you to stick around, and this is why. Folks, if you're new to this section of the program, we got a very clear baseline rule here. AJ will be our arbiter of truth and justice and all that is right in the world, in the betting world, in your betting pockets right here, because you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 bonus plays. I'm not going to tell you that these are all locks. We're going to go one by one, and AJ will determine what will be the official bonus play for UFC 310. AJ, we got some interesting ones right here. First one, Chase Hooper, Clay Guida goes to decision plus 160. You see where we're trending with some of these plays. What do you think about this first one?
I was looking at this one, Derek. I was looking. And you can see before from my prop lock, I was going for the over. But there's a lot of money to be had on that Chase Hooper Clay Guida decision because of the style of both of these fighters, right? The cardio machine that Guida is, and the way we've seen Chase Hooper evolve his career, right? He's no longer just the skinny kid that has awkward striking. Like Chase Hooper can put some work in, but in order to be able to put the work in, he's going to need to get close, going to need to put some pressure on Clay Guida, and he's a pressure machine, man. Guida has all the tools to be able to avoid, get things going, and also apply that pressure back. I like this one as a plus 160 decision.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. And let me just pull it up just so like people can visualize, right? Clay Guida, Chase Hooper. Listen, the man is 42 years old, but when we take a look at this, and it's not going to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, folks. Like there's a lot of red in here, right? But the man knows how to still periodically come back and get the dub. And when you look at the losses, right? Yeah, you see a submission loss right here. Decision, 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 decision. You see a couple submissions. Don't get me wrong. Like the man can be submitted. But the point is, I like it. I like it. And that's one of our many plays. Next up, Dom Reyes, Anthony Smith goes to decision. The thought process behind this one, again, yes, these dudes both don't really last very long in their fights, like respectively, right? But Anthony Smith, if he has one trait, the man's nickname is literally benefiting this. The Lionheart, he's durable. The man does not go away easily. Now he's getting older, it's getting harder, but Dom Reyes isn't the most spring chicken either. So what do we think about decision plus 240?
I like this one a lot as well, Derek. And in fact, while I was looking at this one on the betting odds, this one kept popping up, right? You got 2 older fighters who, like you said, not in the prime of their career anymore. They've hit that research, or they've hit that part of their career where now you could call them a gatekeeper, whatever the case is, though they're solidified right now, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of going into this one, I was looking at this one for the round 1 and the round 2 losses and wins that Dom Reyes has actually had. But going up against a guy who has the grit and determination that Anthony Smith has, and especially with the way Smith's career has been trending, I see both of them start a little slower, taking their time and how to figure each other out in this fight, and then look for opportunities to end it. But I don't see that happening, at least until the later rounds, right? Rounds 2.5, 3 going into that. So I can see this one going to decision.
All right. Fair play. Let's keep it pushing. All right. This one, I'm going to, folks, I think AJ is going to be a hater on this one, but we're still going to talk about it. Cody Durden, money line over Josh Van. Listen, man, Cody Durden, and I'm going to say this off the cuff, off of my heart. Josh Van is the new. He's the next generation, right? Cody Durden is a dude who I just think doesn't quite get the respect that he deserves for whatever reason. I don't want to let the cat out the bag too much. We're talking about it more in a moment, but The dude could grapple. He can strike. Can he strike to the level of Josh Van? No, I don't think so. But I think Josh Van isn't a fully developed fighter yet. I still think he has a little bit of a ways to go. And I think in the early stages of his career, this is where some of the veteran fighters could take advantage. This is where I see Cody Durden plus 130. You're disrespecting the man who could do it all. I'm just saying, let's put it out there. What do you think?
Derek, at least in this part of the show, the arbiter of truth can't be a hater. I'm with you, right? I do think Josh Van is the better striker in this one, but what do you do when you're facing a good striker? Put him on his back and beat him up, and that's what Cody Durden has all the skills to be able to get done, right? That's why I like this one at a plus 130. I do think he's the underdog, but if he's able to, right, get that going, even be a wet blanket, right? We hate to see it in the fight, but if you're getting paid, wet blanket all day, hold Josh Van down and just sit there and take your dub. I don't see any problem with it.
All right, and then last up, the All-American, Chris Weidman. He's fighting Eric Anders, and we have him winning by decision at plus 160. Now, my logic here, two older fighters, Eric Anders, one of my favorites to do it, is notoriously just kind of he's a little bit of a slow starter and a little bit of a plotter in the fights, in the sense of it's not the most action-packed. There's a lot of clinch work, a lot of grappling up against the cage, and a lot of potential ground and pound or just clinch striking, a lot of tie-ups right there. We know Chris Weidman is going to be looking to grapple here because that's what the All-American does, but I could see this being a good old bout of fisticuffs as well. I just think that Chris Weidman, even in his decorated age that he is, I think that he's going to be able to just be a little bit more versatile, a little bit more well-rounded, and let's not forget a little chip on his shoulder because Eric Anders pulled out on fight day a couple of weeks ago. So I'm glad this one got rebooked, but what do you think on this one?
Glad this one got rebooked. And Derek, I was looking at this one when I was trying to find some parlays, right? Looking at some juice that's able to be put in. A 40-year-old Chris Weidman does scare me. It gives me some hesitancy anytime I'm betting on him. But he's going up against a 37-year-old Eric Anders who, and if you look at his last couple fights, he was at a fury, right? Trying to get some grappling going, trying to find different ways to evolve his game. And if he's able to actually go in there and think he's going to use those skills against Chris Weidman, the All-American, I see this one being a long, drawn-out fight with the veteran being able to find ways to outwork the younger by 3 years dog going into this fight.
And let's not forget, Anders is a jiu-jitsu brown belt, man. When I rolled with him, he beat me up pretty bad, so it wasn't fun. Knee on belly, not fun from Eric Anders. So if he could pull in a little bit of that, man, you got problems. But listen, the All-American, he does what he does. So with that being said, those are your bonus plays. But now we need to know, AJ, the arbiter of truth and justice, what is the UFC 310 bonus play?
Bonus play, folks. Lock it in. We're going Reyes versus Smith. Goes to decision at plus 240. Most money on the board right here. And with these two older fighters, I see this as a very likely outcome.
And this is a beautiful just swing all the way around to, don't forget my prop lock, Reyes Smith over 1.5. If you want to go full in on the decision, then double it up. But listen, money, I could hear the money sounding. The cha-ching, you hear it all day. I should have put a sound effect. Do I got a sound effect? Let me check. Do we got a sound effect for some money? We don't. What a missed opportunity. Next time. We got you. All right, AJ. Listen, folks, that was the bonus plays. Now that the bonus plays have been completed, let me go ahead and get this thing off of the screen. Hold on. There we go. Now that the bonus plays have been completed, we are at the most relevant aspect of the show, the most highly anticipated, the unknowns of today, the stars of tomorrow, folks. We're talking about the sleepers, baby. Let's get it.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, folks. The game is simple. We got a short amount of time. We're going to tell you from the prelims exclusively what are the fights that you need to watch out. I'm going to say one. AJ is going to say one. He's going to kick it off first because he's got a banger on deck, and you got to let the people know what it was. AJ, let it go. What do we got?
Banger on deck. First fight of the early prelims, folks. So make sure you get in there early, tuning in. I mean, this one's a little bit of a cheat, right? You should know Kennedy and Chekwu, right? And as well as Lucas Brzeski. If you're not familiar, man, go take a look because this guy, as much as he's lost the last couple fights, he can still perform. He's still able to get things done. He's still a very interesting fighter in this one, right? In Chekwu, hits very hard. If you leave holes open, he's going to take advantage of them. Brzeski, a little bit lesser of a known fighter right here, and you can see a lot of people are leaning towards that in Chekwu knockout right here, but still, Brzeski is still very, very dangerous in his own right. 4% of people, man, there's some faithfuls out there. This fight leads towards Nchekwu winning, but Brzeski has an opportunity to shock the world, and nothing more dangerous than a man fighting for his career and also looking to put money on or food on the table for his kids. This is the opportunity Brzeski has, and man, against Nchekwu, if he's able to get it done, you'll see a star able to be made right here.
Let's not forget, man, Bretsky's a real heavyweight, and Chekwu is a light heavyweight who's like, I'll fight at heavyweight. I don't know when this happened or if he decided this is a permanent move up, man, but at heavyweight, anything goes. This is a banger. Folks, y'all need to tune in. And shout out to Kennedy and Chekwu because I'm liking the matchup here. All right, folks, again, listen, we was just talking about it. I'd be lying to you if I told you there was legitimate sleepers on this card, because if you're even a casual relative fan, there's like only 2 fighters maybe that you don't know, and Bretsky was one of them, right? So here we go. Cody Durden versus Josh Van, what I just talked about on the bonus plays, what we've been kind of sprinkling in for you guys. This is what you need to know. 20 combined finishes between the two. 1 combined loss by decision, and that was Durden on the regional scene back in 2017. That's how long ago the last decision loss by either of these fighters was. Stylistically, this is an intriguing matchup. Durden's known as the wrestler, but the man is willing to bite down on the mouthpiece, and straight swing him and bang him, man. The problem is, Josh Van, if you stay on the feet with him, he's going to find his mark. He's going to take a little bit of time to feel you out, but he's going to rip on all areas. Head, body, beat up the legs, do the entire 9. He's a sprawl and brawl machine at its finest who can definitely put you away. So this is going to be the testament to the young fighter who you know is going to be making massive waves. Let's see how he handles some early adversity or early tests against some of these good guys, man. I think he's the future through and through, but really quickly, let me just show you. Cody Durden, let's not forget, he beat up Matt Schnell and then submitted him with the ninja choke. You got a couple losses. Bruno Smith, you did get TKO'd by him and got submitted by Tagir Ulanbekov. Some good fighters right there. Jake Hadley decisioned him, super impressive. And then the inner G, Charles Johnson. AJ, you have to admit, that's an impressive victory, isn't that?
Absolutely.
All right, but Josh Van, Edgar Chairez, super. I mean, that was a crazy fight right there. You got knocked out by the inner G, and Durden has a win, mental edge, but everything else is looking beautiful, man. Felipe knockout. Borjas knockout, Zalga Zumagulov, decision, split. You love it. And the Borjas was a decision, excuse me. I don't know how to read. Folks, that's your sleeper. I went longer than I needed to, but you get the gist. And moving on over, AJ, we have some news and notes to get to. So let me go ahead and, boom, take us to the news and notes. Now, we're running a little short on time, so we're going to cover a couple of them. But I have breaking news, AJ. I wasn't playing. This happened today, and I want your take. I'm sure you probably know where I'm going here, AJ. Here we go. News and notes. All right. Let me pull up the big screen, folks. We got some stuff to talk about. Jamal Hill, Alex Baeta. We get into a little squabble. So as we can see here, let's see, full screen news. There we go. Throws the gloves at him. AJ, pause. Throws the gloves at him. And Jamal Hill says, we don't need gloves. We can do this right now. I hear a little trickling in the background saying, for free? For free? You don't want to fight for free. You want to get paid? What else we got? So we don't need gloves? Now let's keep it a buck. AJ, pause. Let's keep it a buck. Did that not remind you when you was in high school and you both in the face and we talking, what's up? Do something. And you hear them repeat that shit for 45 seconds. And then you got, all right, get out of the way then if y'all not going to squabble. But you got to keep it a buck, man. A little immature to be calling out the champion, right? But I think all this does is gives cool points to Alex Paeta because this dude is a champion, reigning, defending. And he's like, what's up? Here's the gloves. Let's get it right now. So all respect because, listen, at the end of the day, it's competitive fire, in my opinion. I'm trying not to make it out to be anything more than that. But Jamal Hill wants that belt back. Paeta clearly is down for a challenge. It don't matter. But we don't fight for free, man, right? Not at those guys' levels, right?
No, we fight for free. Those levels, not at all, Derek. No, this is one of those ones. Sometimes I'm curious, right? Like how much of this is a PR play from both of them? If you look at Alex Paeta's face, it does not look like a PR play at all. He was ready to kill Jamal Hill, man. I'm surprised he didn't just go at it. Like this is an interesting look for both of them. I'm excited to see when this fight gets booked.
I mean, yeah, so Jamal Hill has some work to do. You got to get past Yuri in order to get back to Alex Paeta. And Paeta, you better win whoever they put in front of him. But I thought that was crazy, man. And that's all we'll leave it at. We covered a little bit of this earlier, the Shavkat, Rakhmonov, Gary stuff, so we'll leave that. But AJ, this is important, man. Dakota Dacheva, man, if you guys were missing out on some UFC for the Thanksgiving, you had PFL action, the World Championships, and she beat the brakes off of Tyler Santos, man. Like, it was actually kind of alarming, man, because I thought Santos, listen, you're smaller, your striking isn't phenomenal, but you were able to take down Valentina Shevchenko, partially in fault. Like, it was like Shevchenko's fault. Like, she put herself in too close of a distance to get taken down, but she tried to take down Decheva, and Decheva's just too big, too strong, too powerful of a tie clinch. She beat her down, hit her with the body shot, got her out of there in 2. I mean, listen, get her to the UFC. Am I right?
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching this fight, Derek. The gap of the PFL and the other organizations towards UFC is closing, man. We're starting to see better competition coming in. Get her to the UFC, get her some paycheck. I know she just won $1 million, but either way, get her to the show. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one turns out.
Now, I think there are a couple front runners in the PFL that maybe can compete, but we're going to show something a little bit later that might make you contradict those words. So we'll come back to that one. All right, AJ, next up, what do we got? Petr Yan. He wants Sean O'Malley rematch if he doesn't get the title shot. O'Malley responds. All that I care about here is that we've come into like a loop around, right? This is the bantamweight division. Let's not forget, because I feel like you got such a stacked division. Merab is the champion, just announced. I'm not going to show it, but just announced. He's slated in January, I believe, to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. So, like, we have some real action going. But I feel like people aren't even thinking about the champion being Merab. I think they still think of Yan, O'Malley, all these other guys, right? Like, I think that's who is in the forefront of their mind. Aljo, you know. So, with all of this being said, man, like, does the bantamweight division, do we see new life creep up into this top 5, or are these guys going to be pulling basically a 125 and have the same 5 guys just nonstop going at it for that belt? Same thing with 155 almost.
I think we could see some new blood creep in, Derek, but the question that comes to my mind, are the fans or are the media or are the people that are watching, right, care about these new people creeping in? Because I agree with you. It still seems like the Sean O'Malley is running the show. It's a sugar show all day long. Petr Yan, even with his last fight, man, it looks like this is the people that are staying around. I'm here for it. I don't want to see stagnation in there, so I do want some new blood, but some new blood needs to make a big splash and be able to take that limelight away.
I hear that. We'll see what happens, man, but I'm excited. I think Yan he's breathed new life into the division. After that win against Figgy, he turned him down. He said, hey, you're going to have to do some more work. I'm coming back to claim my belt. So we'll see what happens. All right, so we've come straight to it, man. AJ, you was talking about PFL doing some stuff. Well, Matt Brown and a lot of other people are saying, Matt Brown blast the PFL for the Bellator train wreck and the bad business plan. Nobody effing cares about your format, which is true. Like, nobody does care about the in-season format. To me, it doesn't feel, you fight a lot, yeah, whatever, but it doesn't feel the same as just being a pure regular champion in a normal organization like the UFC. Matt Brown says it sucks. Straight up. Because all these guys are in their prime too, and they're essentially wasting their prime waiting on this organization to figure out their shit. PFL, Bellator, it just seems like a mess, really. The merger with everything feels like there's not a lot of organization. And the reason he's saying this is because you have fighters such as Patchy Mix, AJ, who's saying, hey, my manager told me to hold off. Haven't heard anything from PFL or Don Davis, who's the Dana White of the PFL. If you're not going to have me fight, then just please release me from my contract. It's not what I want, but it's important. If I'm not that important to the company, being a multi-time champ, then just let me go respectfully, right? You can't be mad at a champion being like, give me an opportunity to fight elsewhere, because literally 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, man. Those years could pass by really, really quickly when you're not getting fights scheduled, and all of a sudden, it's too late to make a real running. Now, another example. Oh, this is Patchy Mix still. I have another one. It was one of the... Hold on. Oh, I deleted it. All right. Well, I had so many examples, I had to delete them. But you had fighters like one of the Pitbull bros talking about it. You had Homeboy who was supposed to fight Patchy Mix. He's speaking out. Like, when you have these top dudes, champions, speaking out about how they need to be released from their contract and how they need to go fight in other organizations, it just makes the PFL look really bad. And that's why I say, like, on one hand, I want there to be competition to the UFC. Like, Bellator was holding their own, kind of, not really. But now it's a figment of the past. And is there any promotion right now that you could say rivals the UFC even a little bit? Because I think the UFC has just lapped these companies at this point.
No, Derek, I think the UFC's just lapped everybody as far as production value, media attention, right? All of the eyes are on the UFC, and I agree with Matt Brown. Nobody cares at all about anything else any other organization is doing. I do think the talent level, I'm still going back to what I was saying. I doubled it down. I think the talent level is increasing. That gap is closing, but in order to get people's eyes on it, there needs to be something else going forward that the PFL or Ryzen or anybody else is bringing to the table. I mean, maybe Asakura can bring some eyes to it if he actually is able to get the gold now, but he's still in the UFC, right? The UFC is still the money machine right here, and that's what's going on, man.
And let's not forget, a lot of the people that are really successful in the PFL and Bellator, former UFC fighters. So it's all coming from the same farm system. Either way, folks, that is your news and notes. Great place for us to end here today. Folks, that's it. We got one more bout this year after this UFC 310. It's UFC Tampa. That's going to be taking place next week, I believe on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. I probably made that up. But either way, we got one more bout after this one to determine, do we get another shiny belt over here, or does AJ, let me solo him out because that belt is looking pretty right there. Does he get 2 straps? At the end of the day, folks, I want us to remember, the game is this. If we win, you win. If we win our picks, we get our ego fulfilled. I get some gold belts, but also you get money in your pocket. Same goes with AJ. Both of us set a goal. AJ, do you remember our ambitious goal this year for what our percentages were going to be?
70%, brother. Haven't forgot it yet.
That's it. Always striving for more. As it stands right now, I believe I'm at like 62 and you're at like 59, hovering right there at 60. So the point is, we're going to stay at levels that you're not seeing for these other folks, these other analysts right here, but we're striving for that 70 mark, and that is always the goal. AJ, I went a little bit longer, but go ahead and take us out of here as you always do, my friend.
Folks, Derick alluded to it. You're not going to see any other pick show out there hold themselves accountable. It's because they're scared. They're scared to tell you they're wrong all the time. You know who's not, because we're putting the work in right here. It's a money-making show for a reason. The conversations happen right here, and it wouldn't be for you. It wouldn't be without you guys. So I'm happy to have you doing it, right? Happy to have you making some money off us, but make sure you tune in because we're going for these golds over here. And when we win, like Derick said, you win. Money in the pockets all day long. That's what we're talking about. Happy to have you, folks.
That's it, folks. Catch us next week, UFC Tampa. And until next time, peace.